I have some stories being considered, says Jeff, as he faces the businessman on the train. You see, the businessman says with a grin, by God, I spot them every time. Bleeding hearts, with their heads buried in the past, says the businessman as he begins to bury his head in his newspaper. Who think the solutions to life's problems are waiting around that bend or on small town front porches, he carries on, the businessman, without looking up from his paper. Jeff, his face is beginning to fall a bit at this onslaught of the critical view from the businessman. The businessman's eyes bulge. Hogwash, he says to Jeff. Son, he says, there's no answers out there. He says this in a wise old man type of way, giving him some old time wisdom. Jeff glances out the train window as if to reconsider. There's nothing but boring people out there in boring houses, in boring jerk-water junctions, says the wise old businessman, without looking up from each paper. He's talking through the side of his mouth now. I'll take the rat race any day, thank you very much, he says, just occasionally glancing at Jeff to make sure he's still listening, but mainly looking at his newspaper. Jeff is not really buying it. With a gentle open hand gesture, he says, well, I think otherwise. Oh, says the expression on the businessman's face. You think otherwise, do you? Well, hell, if you think that, why not act? He challenges Jeff. The businessman says this in a that's final type of way, as if I've won, haven't I? Why not act if that's what you think? Essentially accusing Jeff of fancy thinking, which is not backed up by any type of acting. The business guy carries on. I mean, when the next town comes up, stop the train. Jump off and meet the wonderful folks in your rural paradise. Go on, do it, he provokes Jeff. Get off the train. Next stop. Believe me, says Jeff, I've thought of it. Sure, says the wise businessman. Someday, eh? Someday. The businessman sits back, as if to say, but that someday will be no day, anytime soon. Now sensing he has the complete upper hand, the businessman puts on a wise know-it-all grin, and he says to Jeff, but right now, you haven't got the guts. He continues, because if you did, you'd grab your suitcase and jump off this train the next time we come to it. Jeff hears what he's saying and looks out of the window as if contemplating that very thing, getting off the train. Jeff looks back into the carriage at the businessman, but now Jeff's slightly wringing his hands in a dilemma or agitation. He looks at the businessman, who is now staring at him and just grinning, feeling superior that he has tested Jeff's airy fairy ideas, and the result is they amount to no more than just ideas. The wooden shacks, rubble, farmhouses, wasteland flies by at speed. Jeff looks out with a deep, thoughtful look, looks out at this area the train speeding through. Maybe, just maybe, I will do it, he's thinking. At this point, the uniformed conductor is walking past their seat. Excuse me, says Jeff, calling his attention. The conductor stops half mid-step, looks back with a yes, sir expression, but doesn't actually say anything. The conductor is a black man who speaks perfect English, and he looks pretty smart in his pristine uniform, complete with a gold-rimmed hat. crisp white shirt. Yes, sir. Jeff then says, what's the name of the next town we come to? He asked politely. But it's a serious question, and the conductor accepts it as genuine. There's a slightly incredulous look on the conductor's face as he attempts to take Jeff's question seriously. Well, the next town is Everville, but no one ever gets off there.